Giselle Cram, registered dietitian over at the Bariatric Weight Loss Center. And today I want to bring you some tips on how to overcome the challenge of stress eating, some foods to avoid, and foods that you can actually consume during these stressful times. The first tip is to first learn how to identify stress eating versus actual physical hunger. We can oftentimes confuse one with the other. Here's some pointers to help you better understand if this is actually physical hunger or is it more stress eating or emotional eating. When it's physical hunger, typically you're going to feel open to different options of foods. So if you're physically hungry, you would feel that a variety of foods could satisfy that hunger. But when it's not a physical hunger and it's more of a stress hunger or mental hunger, then usually it's a very specific type of food that we want to consume, and it's a specific type of food that will satisfy us. So that's a really good clue. If you feel that only something very specific is going to satisfy this hunger, then this may actually be more of a mental hunger than a physical hunger. Another good clue is when you're physically hungry, you're more likely to stop when you feel satisfied or full. But when it's a mental hunger, like stress hunger, then you may feel that you continue to eat and kind of override that sense of fullness that your body is giving you. You continue to eat and continue to eat to the point where you become overly stuffed. So that is something that you may experience. If you notice these things, it's okay. What's important is to be mindful of this, learn from those experiences, so that if this is happening to you again, you can hopefully identify, you know what? I think this is more of a mental hunger than an actual physical hunger. And hopefully that gives you the empowerment and motivation to either choose a healthy food or just choose to do a completely different activity instead of actually eating. Another good clue to identify mental versus physical hunger is physical hunger is rarely associated with guilt. When you're physically hungry and your body and your physiological needs require this food, you're not going to feel guilty when you sit down to eat. But if you're eating something and then right after you eat, you feel a sense of guilt, then this may be a really good clue that that eating behavior occurred not because you were physically hungry, but because it was maybe mental hunger, stress hunger. So again, if this happens to you, it's okay. This happens. Just what's important is that you realize this, you are mindful of what's going on with your body, and you respond quickly to this. So you learn from it, and that way, if it happens to you again, you can quickly identify it and say, okay, this is not physical hunger. This is a mental hunger. So instead of choosing the snack, I'm going to choose to do something else, maybe an activity like walking or something fun like art or gardening, or just taking a step outside to take some fresh air and try to get the mind away from the thought of eating food. The best way to manage stress eating is to find something to do that stimulates your brain and can get your thoughts away from food. That is the best way to overcome stress eating. as I mentioned before, doing some kind of activity like gardening, going for a walk, taking some fresh air. Some of my patients have told me when I color in a coloring book, it gets my mind away from food. Any kind of artwork or exercise, or even calling a friend. And not necessarily talk about, I'm about to stress eat, but just having a conversation, having a good conversation with someone that will get your mind away from the food. So something mentally stimulating is the best way to manage this. If you are going to eat food, you decide you are going to eat food, maybe you're unsure if it's a physical versus a mental hunger, and you decide that you are going to prepare yourself a snack. There are some snacks out there that you can have that are low calorie, that are healthy, and should satisfy you. Now remember, if this snack does not satisfy you, this may be a really good clue that it's not physical hunger, but instead it's a stress or a mental hunger. Some snacks that you can try are a trail mix baggie, a quarter cup of a high fiber dry cereal like the Kashi Heart to Heart, with 15 raisins and 7 almonds. Yes, I know these portions are very specific, 15 raisins and 7 almonds. The reason is because this snack is about 100 calories or less. This is a really good way to help you control calorie intake when having a snack. Another example is 2 small stalks of celery with a teaspoon of peanut butter in each one of them, and a few pieces of raisins for some sweetness. Another example is 3 thin avocado slices and some tomato slices or some salsa on top of a multi-grain cracker or crisp. Even something as simple as a cup of skim or 1% milk can be a really good snack to have in between meals. Or even something like half a container of tuna fish. You can get that kind of tuna nowadays sold that have flavoring in it, like lemon and black pepper, and then place that tuna on top of some whole grain crackers for some fiber, protein, and that's going to be a very satisfying snack. But again, if you do not feel the satisfaction after the snack, then this is a really good clue that it may be a stressful hunger or a mental hunger. So at that point, I encourage you to go outside for a walk, or maybe read a book, or just stimulate your brain with an activity that can get your mind off of the food. I hope these tips have helped you better identify the difference between physical hunger and stress or emotional hunger, and that you also feel more comfortable and confident on how to manage this situation. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.